Have you ever tried to silence the noise in your head, only to find it roaring back, louder and more untamed than before? What if everything you've been taught about controlling your mind is fundamentally flawed? For millennia, humanity has treated the mind like an enemy to be suppressed. But the mind is a powerful illusion, a fragment of the ultimate creator. Trying to control it with mundane, earthly boundaries is like trying to cage the wind. When suppressed, it only draws more energy, returning stronger. But there is a secret. A pathless path hidden not in the constant rush of continuity, but in the silent gaps. Think about your breath. You inhale energy, you exhale, and for a fraction of a microsecond before the next breath, there is a void. A state of complete stillness. In that fleeting pause of discontinuity, the mind is entirely annihilated, and you step beyond time and space into the pure state of being. By mastering these tiny moments of consciousness, by purifying the energy we consume through food, thought, and breath, we shift our focus to the root of the mind. Here, the mental noise doesn't just quiet down, it completely dissolves into the pure, transcendent light of the soul, ascending to the supernal. Are you ready to stop fighting the storm, and instead, discover the absolute silence within the void? Let's uncover the true signs of mind control.
Chapter 5: Mind Control Through Discontinuity in Lifestyle. If one desires to control his mind, and if it is his specific aim of life, then only successfully, he can achieve it patiently and gradually, with his full efforts, by implementing many subjective discontinuities in lifestyle. He has to keep continuity of mind control, in presence of various discontinuities in the realm of ups and downs in life. Mind control is difficult. It is not an easy path to control it, but it is not impossible. It requires a few subjective practices, besides modulation in the existing lifestyle. To know mind. Firstly, one has to conceive and visualize the mind. It is very complex to understand mind, since it is like perceiving of self by the self. There is no available literature which discusses inbuilt of mind and its location in the human system. However, objective ways and means to control the mind have been discussed in details, but without any tangible breakthrough. In fact, mind is a great mystery. To direct the activities of mind is a most difficult and complex proposition. Mysterious and sensible aspects of mind control have not been understood so far. It is like trying to control the wind, without adequate boundaries. One can suppress his mind temporarily, make it sleepy and functionless, by the help of tranquilizers. But true active or genuine control is the most difficult activity of the human race from time immemorial. Awareness of the self is the control of mind. And the key to mind control lies in the control of senses. It is said that one who has controlled his mind has conquered the world. Meaning of the word mind. Before going in details of various aspects of mind control, its function and its location in the human body, let us first try to understand the verbal word and each letter meaning of the word mind. In the word mind, M stands for Maya, the illusion. I stands for indulgence. N stands for noise. And D stands for diversion and distress. So, literally meaning of the mind can be expressed as mind is sensitive device. That sensitive device of causal body of human system, which indulges in worldly elusive activities of Maya or illusion through the senses, by getting engaged in time-bound acts that create noise in the process, and disturbances with many ups and downs on their accomplishment. The diversion and distribution of which finally results in distress. Mind is like Brahma. Mind is Maya or illusion. Maya or illusion are mind. Maya is part of Brahma or the Creator. So Maya is very powerful, like Brahma. It cannot be controlled by any human designed means and ways. So, the mind, being the part of Maya, is a very powerful device. It is capable of creating a great distress of such a high magnitude that can completely deteriorate the human life and its system and make it functionless. However, mind is also capable of giving immense pleasure and happiness. Mind has immense energy. It can handle multifaceted tasks at the same time. Mind control. By various existing universal means, it cannot be even temporarily controlled. However, various means of medication and psychotherapy can suppress the mind, or make it temporarily withdrawn, and transform it to functionless state. This may be the effect of brain on mind, and energy taken from the mind by the physical system. However, as soon as the effect of drugs and hypnosis wear off, mind has the capability to draw more energy from the system. This can make him more and more violent, stronger and more rejuvenated than ever. And thus, it becomes difficult to control it subsequently by all mundane means. By medicines or drugs, in fact, it becomes more vulnerable and difficult to control with time. Mind is Maya or illusion. So, what is to be done to control the mind? This needs to be very clearly understood, and ways and means of its control to be practiced. Since mind being Maya or illusion is a part of Brahma or the Creator, is very strong and powerful. Hence, it is very clear that a human being, with his limited capacity and capability, cannot control Brahma or the Creator of the universe. Thus, it becomes vivid that by any horizontal worldly means, mind that is Maya or Brahma cannot be controlled. It can only be temporarily suppressed. If one really wants to control the mind by sincere and honest efforts, after understanding real nature of the mind, then he needs to follow vertical divine path in place of horizontal worldly path. This will have double benefit. Firstly, the mind will get controlled, since the mental energy will be utilized for vertical divine travel. And secondly, the mind will get separated from the consciousness and soul, losing its potentiality. And then soul, as pure light, adopts the pathless path to the supernal or superconsciousness. Mind is annihilated in discontinuity. In other words, as the mind is concentrated, it gets isolated in discontinuity from self, or consciousness, or soul. Finally, it is annihilated with discontinuity. Mind can only be controlled in discontinuities, in the realm of existence, in continuity in life. Fully control of mind is its annihilation. And its partial emergence in consciousness and in soul light, in discontinuities in continuity, that is as on or off circuit, until the emergence soul in supernal takes place. In other words, scientifically, mind or Maya or illusion or Brahma or creator is a part of consciousness. Soul, the pure divine light, is the core universal consciousness. As human consciousness or awareness gradually increases or manifested, mind is annihilated. Relative silence and peace is enhanced. Or, as the consciousness gets separated, mind is annihilated. Manifestation of consciousness to annihilate mind. Manifested awareness or consciousness can only supervise the activities of mind, and it can control its wandering nature. When increase of consciousness or awareness gradually gets transformed in consciousless state, or emergent state with discontinuities in supernal, in the deep state of meditation, then mind, even with the relative silence, is annihilated. Absolute silence appears spontaneously. Under such conditions, consciousness steps in timeless zone. Time disappears. And stage to step into being, that is beyond time and space, appears with discontinuities. This stage completely controls the mind. And partial absolute silence is experienced when conscious state reappears. This frequent transformation of conscious state into manifested awakening state, to consciousless state, and then back to the original state, is the state of on or off condition. In this transient period, gradually mind is controlled as if annihilated. In fact, the manifested consciousness can control the mind with discontinuities, as long as awareness or consciousness prevail in the continuity of existence, in the realm of life. However, mind cannot be controlled in continuity without awareness. It can be controlled and annihilated only in awareness, under manifested consciousness in discontinuity. Requisite to annihilate mind. The spiritual science of mind control requires an understanding of the unstable, elusive and dynamic nature of the mind. Mind takes energy for its dynamic activities from the food, apart from the breath. So, to control the mind on the physical horizontal plane, it is required that food must be consumed in regulated, selectively and controlled manners. and breath must be fully under control. Precisely speaking, food must be pure and sattvic, so that mind must get only sattvic and pure energy, and not the tamasic and rajasic energies from pungent, putrid, violent, non-vegetarian food. Sattvic vegetarian food gradually increases sattvaguna and keeps the mind cool, pure and with much less of irritation. Thus, animal-like ferocious tendencies of the mind get subsided. And in turn, it helps the mind to be at rest and gets concentrated easily. Not only the gross food, but the food one takes from other senses, that is from eyes, ears, nose, tongue and skin, must be pleasing and pure. And it must be taken with full awareness, and in the state of awakening. Food for thoughts. It means our senses must intake sattvic vibrations. That is, we must see good in all. Hear or listen good spiritual topics. Smell good or fragrant items, such as flowers. And be in contact with the good, pure, sattvic and divine people. Awareness and mindfulness shall be maintained under all conditions, so that mind is always above good and bad. Awareness and vigilance of mind by the self is the best food for the mind. Directly and indirectly, these activities will help the mind to control the senses easily. And in turn, mind will be under the control of self, with awareness and with less frequency of continuities of wanderings. Thus, its wandering nature will be modulated. Gradually, mental strength will be enhanced. Breathe control to annihilate mind. Apart from senses and food, mind gets subtle energy from breath. In fact, mind requires energy from the breath all times, in order to exist. Mind becomes functionless if a human being becomes breathless. If the breath is controlled, then the mind is always under control. Discontinuity in breath. So, it is required to increase discontinuity in breath, to have control on mind. Breath and mind functions are very closely related. If the breath is made tranquil, the mind can be kept under vigilance. Under this stage, mind is always under control. Increasing the awareness or consciousness can also help to manifest vigilance on mind. Awareness or consciousness of mind is Shiva constituent of the cosmos. Whereas the mind is Shakti constituent, the power of the cosmos. By increasing awareness or consciousness, it is easy to channelize the flow of Shakti towards awareness, and thus, reducing noisy and flickering nature of mind. In short, if one really wants to control the mind, he has to be vigilant from the multi-directions. But still, the mind can jump at the earliest opportunity. Mind is just like a wind. Wind cannot be controlled. Only if its energy is transformed, it will become less violent. So is the case with the mind. Breathe in and breathe out. In nutshell, all the above worldly horizontal positive efforts can make the mind less and less violent, but cannot control it fully. In the process of breathing cycle, when breath is in, a human being is active with full energy. But when he exhausts or takes out the complete breath from the system, then for a microsecond in each cycle, there is no breath inside. He is temporarily breathless during this interval. Then mind is spontaneously annihilated. At this instant of temporarily breathless state, that is in this discontinuity, he is with the supernal unknowingly. In other words, scientifically, in this breathless or consciousless period, he is beyond time and space. He has stepped into that being. If this period is extended, he can contact the supernal. And if he is longer in breathless or consciousless state, then longer he will be in being, and away from illusion or maya. It means at every breath cycle, a creature is with the Almighty, in unconsciousness, for a micro or nanosecond or so. A creature without breath is dead. So, he dies once in each breath cycle, and again revives as he takes the breath in. And thus, a human being remains without mind for that short interval, when breath is out of the body and fresh breath is not taken. Since without breath energy, human system is dead and functionless, and so the mind. In fact, one annihilates the mind in each breath. And he is beyond time and space in each breath cycle. To extend time or duration without breath. Here lies the key. If a human being is able to increase this duration without a breath, then he can put his mind more and more time under control, for a longer duration, making it actively functionless, thoughtless, and in a state of complete rest, for a number of times he breaths per minute. Less number of times in a minute, if one breathes more, will be his lifespan. And his mind will be much more in his control, as compared to an ordinary human being. In other words, increase in discontinuity of breathing cycle helps to control the mind. An ordinary man breathes approximately 21,600 times in 24 hours. One can easily reduce this number by 40% to 50%. And comparatively increase his lifespan, with less of the physical problems. Void in system. In other words, a void inside the system, that is sunya, or vacuumed inside the system by a smaller number of breaths per minute, and increased in time duration without breath, keeps the mind under more and more control. This is the basic and easiest way to control the mind, and to increase the lifespan. Moreover, under these conditions, he is more time in the state of being, and beyond time and space. Thus, he is merged in breathless consciousness or conscious state, away from illusion. In this state, he accumulates divine energy with manifested self-consciousness, which makes him healthy, wise and graceful, and extends his life. Location of mind. Furthermore, to understand how the mind can be completely controlled, one must know root location of mind in the human body or system. As discussed above, the human mind is Maya or illusion. And Maya, being creator, is everywhere in the body and around us. So, the mind is everywhere in the body. And it is a part and parcel of Maya, omnipresent illusion. Since illusion is part of Maya, so the mind is. If it is so, the mind is diffused throughout in every cell of the human system. And also, it is everywhere in our system, like consciousness exists in this world. In this universe, wherever a human being wants, he can divert and take the mind. In no time, with much more than a speed of light, it can reach or touch every part of the body. It can go anywhere. And it can also present in various locations simultaneously. It is omnipresent like Maya. But its basic location or root is at the Brahmasthanam, at the Ajna chakra, the point between the eyebrows. From here, it can go anywhere, in any part. So it looks it is present everywhere, having been present nowhere. It can partially merge in consciousness, which is everywhere in universe. However, consciousness can be beyond time and space in discontinuities. Emergence of mind in soul. Perfect control of the mind is achieved only by its annihilation. However, its mergence in the soul, that is the self, cannot be avoided for traces of awareness, when consciousness is beyond time and space, in a state of being. When mind gets annihilated and separated gradually in meditation, by awareness and concentration, and partially merged in soul, then frequency of thoughts occurrence in the mind becomes less and less. And wandering of the mind is diminished. Thus, in the process, when mind is annihilated completely, the breath becomes still, and the mind instantaneously disappears. Breath gets suspended. Then mind is no more, and consciousness is manifested. A perfect blissful and peaceful state pours in. Furthermore, life force ascends from Muladhara to Ajna chakra in meditation. It carries by magnetic pull, along with it, the Jivatma or personalized soul from the Dhara or Anahata chakra, through Vishuddhi and Lambika chakra, up to the Ajna chakra. This is located in between the eyebrows, and is the root location of mind. In addition, human soul rests at this point, the Ajna chakra. And the mind gets isolated from the soul gradually, by concentration or awareness. Slowly, all duality of the mind disappears. Soul turns into pure light. The human mind at this location passes from awakening to dreamy state, and then to Sushupti, and gradually to Turiya or transcendental state, when the life force fully transformed to pure light. Gradually, this pure light travels upward to Chida Akash, in discontinuity, with slight or full awareness, and goes through Unmani Chakra to Sahasrara, 1,000-petal lotuses, before mergence with the supernal. The mind completely disappears or dissolves at this stage. Under such conditions, there is no breath, no mind, and no duality. And thus, the mind is transcended, and the sadhaka reaches to the perfect state of silence. This is the state of continuity in discontinuity, in the realm of existence and life. As long as this continuity is maintained, mind is controlled. This is the state of savikalpa samadhi. This may be jagrik or awakening savikalpa, or turiya savikalpa, and may be jagrik turiya, and so on, depending on state and percentage of emergence of mind with the soul. But it is the state of silence, without active mind and breath. Sadhaka or spiritual aspirant thus finally enters into his jada or achetan state, without awareness and consciousness. A sadhaka or aspirant can remain at this stage for about 3 minutes. This can only be achieved by the blessings of Almighty. After this, descending journey of light follows gradually in discontinuity from Sahasrara. Presence of awareness and presence of mind is felt as the light reaches at Ajna chakra. From Ajna chakra to apex center, and vice versa, it is a pathless path of light. Descendants of soul light from apex center. But now, on descending the light after mergence, the partial merged mind in soul gets separated from the soul gradually. But it has now changed permanently. Now the mind is no longer the original mind, bound in the Maya, as it was before the ascendance took place. The mind after mergence with soul becomes pure, perfectly calm, without any prejudices, reactions and irritations. After the ascendance, coming back to horizontal plane, mind has become from small to big, great and the greatest mind. Frequent emergence of even partial mind with soul, soul's ascendance to supernal, and its descending from apex center, makes it easily controllable by the self. It becomes actively calm and concentrated. Also, this makes the mind more capable of taking complex creative work of the world. Frequency of discontinuity in mergence. Frequency of discontinuity and discontinuity in mergence, in the realm of existence in human life, is the key to control the mind. Human being can put his sincere efforts for this achievement. But finally, success is in the hands of Almighty, that being. Almighty is infinite. His blessings can only bring the final success.